BeastNet is brought to you by James Safety Services in partnership with OCR Buddy and OCR Strong. Here we discuss all things OCR and fitness related. Welcome to BeastNet.
How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing all right. A little, tired from this morning, but
How did it go?
it went it went okay. I mean, I'm frustrated that there was no swim for the second year in a row that I've done this race and there's been no swim because of bacteria issues in the water. Um, which is interesting because they always do the Ironman Texas is in the exact same spot. And they
Really?
do it like 2 weeks before. So every year it seems fine then, but then all of a sudden by the time this race comes by, it's the yeah, the bacteria levels are too high. So but which is
Why are the bacteria levels
the
high
only thing I
there?
can figure is usually, and it's happened both years, like the weekend or the week after Ironman, it's rained a lot, like and flooding issues and stuff like that, and stuff getting in the water. Plus, the temperature's gone up quite a bit. So, I mean, that's the only thing I can figure. But yeah, both years there's been bacteria issues in the water. So,
Okay.
I'm like, okay, but I mean, if there's bacteria issues, I really don't want to be in the water, so we're good.
Right. Definitely. But
But
maybe they should
the
pick a different weekend or a
yeah,
different place to swim.
yeah. It's yeah. I mean, and this was I think the 20th year. The medal said I think 20th year they've done it, and it's only ever I think from what I could tell, besides being fully canceled, they've only ever had to cancel the swim because of this twice, and it's been the last 2 years.
Okay.
So, so it is what it is. But I mean, it was interesting. The only advantage to it, honestly, was though I could like apples to apples compare my time from last year
Okay. And how
because
did
it
you
was
compare?
uh just under 20 minutes faster.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So
Awesome
it
job.
last year was 2 hours and 5 minutes, and this year was an hour and 46.
Amazing.
So a lot of it was the bike. I
Okay.
I was averaging 17 miles per hour on the bike for the full
Wow.
12 hour for the full 12 miles. So
Amazing. Good job.
yeah. So that was the big one. I picked up the speed on the runs as well because that was a 1.65 mile run out. Then you rode the bike and then you came back and did a 5K. And I was averaging, which for me right now is good, and it's really hard not to compare, you know, where I was 4 years ago, where I'd run a 27-minute 5K, and this I did a 37-minute 5K. So,
Okay.
but my practice runs have been about 41 to 42 minutes, so I sped it up for the race. So I mean,
Okay.
there's that. So it felt good. I felt like I'm in a good spot. For a 20K on the bike, that was the second fastest that I've had since I've been using Strava. So,
Okay.
the only other time I've had one faster than that was actually the very beginning of the Ironman I did in 2022. But I know that whole like first half of that Ironman, almost all of it was downhill. So that's why and it was only, I think I was only like 3 or 4 minutes faster on that than I was on this. And on that Ironman, that was what's funny is that was my fastest first half of an Ironman, but my slowest overall. Because after that half where everything was downhill, everything was uphill, and I went to hell after that. But so I mean, it felt good. It felt good. I feel like my training's doing good. It's getting me where I want to be. Um, I mean, most people that listened to the last time we talked, I was gonna do an Ironman, and I ended up not because of they canceled the swim in that as well because of the weather was just it was too much. The waves were too much. It wasn't safe. And then I chose when I got there, like I think it was 700 people chose to not do the race at all because we got there, the weather, the wind, everything was bad. And when
Okay.
you're right there on the water like that, it was 25 to 30 mile per hour side winds.
Wow.
So I'm like, I didn't feel safe for me. I mean, it sounds weird to say. I think if I'd had my other bike, I might have gone for it. Because for one, my road bike's heavier because it's aluminum instead of carbon fiber.
Hmm.
And I feel more comfortable on that bike.
Okay.
I mean, I can go faster on my tri bike, which is what I use today, but in a rough situation like that, I would feel more comfortable with the weight of the other bike and then, everything else. So, but I didn't have that one with me. So I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I'm just gonna go home.
Well,
Um,
it's also good for you to
and like
recognize.
I said, there was seven.
I think my internet's cutting in and out. But I was gonna say it's good for you to be able to recognize what safe conditions are for you and how your
Yeah,
body's feeling and make that decision between like, okay, is this more like I'm not doing the race that I planned.
yeah.
Can I get decent training in this, or is this just more detrimental to my body?
And that's kind of how I was looking at it. I'm like, it's just more detrimental to my body and the chances of going down. I mean, one, the damage I could do to the bike, and two, the damage I could do to myself. I mean, it's the
Hmm.
beginning of the season. If I go down on that race, and from what I heard from like most stuff on the Facebook page and everything like that, that people, I think they said there was 6 people taken to the hospital
Wow.
because of crashes on the bike. And I'm just like, it didn't. Everything was wet because it had been raining all night. It just it didn't seem like a safe situation to me. Unfortunately, Iron Man felt that, since they still ran it, that it wasn't worth, giving us our money back. But I still,
Seriously?
yeah,
They wouldn't
because
even let you like defer?
no. And I asked them, I'm like, can I just defer? And they're like, no, because we ran the race and you chose not to do it. So it's like,
That's bad business practice.
it is. It is. I mean, because it's like I didn't sign up for not to do the swim. I didn't that's the hard part for me in all this. And like even today where it's like, I was telling Amber, I mean, I may end up there's a chance I'm gonna do another one next weekend, another sprint triathlon, because there's one that it's in a like a water park that's got a lagoon and that's where the swim is in the lagoon. So I'm like, I need where I need the practice is the swim. I
Hmm.
mean, the bike and everything else, but I need, my problem is I think half the time for my breathing in a swim is more anxiety than, because when I'm in the pool, I'm not having as many problems with my breathing. So I'm thinking it's more anxiety being in the open water, having so many people around me, and the only way to practice that is to do it. So, and that's kind of why I was hoping to get this one in, but since it didn't happen, I think I might do another one next weekend. That's, in Texas City.
Oh,
So we'll
okay.
see. We'll see. I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, I felt really good on the bike though. That's what made me happy was, like I said, 17 miles an hour average for 12 miles. Felt really good.
Hmm. Good.
No, yeah, yeah. So it was good, and it made me, like I said, made me feel like my training is that I've been doing is doing something. I mean, last month was mostly rucking because of a challenge I decided to do, but then it's like pretty much as soon as I finished the challenge, it was to setting goals for biking, running. And since with my new job, I can take a break in the middle of the day and go do my workouts. So I'll go jump on the bike if the weather's not great. I've been using the trainer a lot more than going outside, but still I'm getting on the bike and using it. And then usually an hour to an hour and a half on that. And then running a 5K. So it's pretty much like Monday and Thursday I ride the bike. Tuesday, Friday I run probably usually a 5K. Wednesdays I go to the pool before work. And then Saturday and Sunday I pick long runs and long rides. So that's been kind of my schedule. So, and I've also dropped almost 20 pounds in like 2 months.
Awesome. Good
So,
job.
so it's been, I'm trying to get back to where I should be. So,
Good for you. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So it's been a lot going on since I talked to you last. So how have
Yeah.
you been? I know you did the ultra with a bum ankle.
Well, it didn't start with a bum ankle.
I know it didn't start with one, but
Well, I mean, I guess the ankle was kind of, I mean, it's always been bum. Like I first broke it when I was 13. I'm like a chronic ankle sprainer. I take collagen for it. I hadn't had like a real sprain in a while, except a couple months ago, I was out on a run with Midnight and I rolled my ankle and it was like, it just, I knew it wasn't right for a while,
Mhm.
but like I would rehab it. I was fine. I could run through it. So I went into the race and said, I don't care what I do. I just want to stay healthy. And of course, I go out very conservatively at the beginning, and I'm hiking and running up to the top. I get to about mile marker 2. Well, no, there weren't any mile markers outside of mile marker 1. We saw no mile markers for the remainder of the race.
Sounds
Um,
about right.
but we got up to the top. We did the 8-foot wall. We came back around and we were going downhill, and it was like a nice gradual descent, technical terrain
Mhm.
in the woods. And I like, I'm running over like a tree branch, and my ankle just rolls. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a sprain. I'm like, yep, it's mile 2. This
Mm,
is going to make things interesting. But like I know my body. So I'm like, I can
yeah.
just run through this. Like I run through rolling my ankle all the time. Usually I'll sprain it, and after a little bit it feels fine. Decent enough. Um so about a tenth of a mile later I'm running and I roll it again, and that one like stops me dead in my tracks, like, oh, like I scream, like people are like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna like walk it off." And I'm going back downhill, and I'm thinking to myself, if I roll it one more time, my race is done. Like, I'm not even 2.5 miles in on an ultra on a mountain. We get to like a little more open, like access road kind of downhill.
Hmm.
And I'm like jogging, and it rolls again. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'm like, I'm still not near anybody or anything. Like people are passing me left and right. Everybody's like, Megan, what's going on? Why are you walking? How am I passing you right now? What's going on? This is so weird. Why am I seeing you? And I'm like, I sprained my ankle. I'm going slow. So I'm like, I have to keep going because it's not like I can get to anybody
Yeah.
that would be able to help me off anyways. So I get down to the bottom, and like by the time I get to Tyro, I'm like, it hurts, but like I can keep walking. So
Hmm.
then my mindset turns to, okay, keep putting one foot in front of the other. Don't try to push it. Turn this into a training day for Killington, because I mean that's what it was all along.
Yeah.
Just keep hiking. You're not gonna hit any time goals. You're not gonna win anything. Just keep moving forward. If my body starts aching and have pains in places that aren't normal for me, I gotta stop. If I start cramping, I gotta stop. But just focus on, get my climbing in, focus on my nutrition, just listen to my body, and be okay with the medical DNF if I have to. Um, the goal was to get to transition, reassess, maybe tape my ankle, and see if I can go on or not. But it's like either way, like I know that I can't really pull myself off this course easily. So, um, I get through the first lap, and it's a shame. I really wanted to run that ultra loop. The ultra loop was gorgeous. Very runnable. I'd try to jog here and there, but my body was like, nope, that's not happening. So, got through to the first lap. I was in transition. I texted my boyfriend, and he was on the beast. So I was like, well, if I pull myself off now, like I still have to wait for him to finish the beast. I might as well keep going.
Yeah.
So I texted him and said, if you're reading this while you're racing, I'm proud of you. Keep going. You're crushing it. Because it was his first ever mountain race. And then I said, stop reading here. And then I texted, I rolled my ankle at mile 2, rolled it 2 more times by mile 3. I'm okay. I'm bringing a roll of tape out with me. I'm going slow, but I'm going on. Never needed the tape. I knew if I would have taped my ankle, it would have cut off my mobility too much, and it probably would have caused cramping and aches and pains and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. So, didn't do anything there. I kept going, and actually, on the second lap, I was moving pretty well for a hike. I was passing people. I was feeling really good. My body held up really well. Um, then I'm coming down the second to last descent, and somebody up at the top is like, well, we're supposed to pull you guys for lightning now, but there's nowhere to hold you. So just run through. And like literally the only obstacle we didn't do was the barbed wire crawl. They
Mhm.
even had us because apparently they didn't tell the volunteers. The volunteers had us go on the multi-rig and then do the penalty loop for the multi-rig while we're supposed to be in lightning delay. I don't know about that because the multi-rig was literally just over the ascent from or descent right before where rolling mud is. So it's not
Yeah.
far at all. So I don't know how those volunteers didn't get the message. But we came down the hill and then they're like, okay, you guys have to go to the lodge. It's lightning. I literally was there waiting for like 10 minutes and they're like, okay, you guys are going back out. I'm like, I never saw any lightning. But my boyfriend found me and I'm crying and he's like, how are you holding up? I said, um, if I stop moving, I'm done. My body's not gonna let me go out. I'm like, I'm in a lot of pain, but I can keep moving. And he was like, well, I have your stuff over here. I already pulled it out of transition, so you're not gonna have to worry about going there. Like, come, just like let's sit down. I'm like, and me and Eric from OCR Nation, we were like standing there together, and we
Mhm.
both look at Luke and we're like, no, I can't sit down. Like if I
Yeah.
sit down, I'm not getting back up. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, then what can I do?" And I ate some food and then they Spartan said, "Okay, beast racers, if you got pulled off the mountain, you have three options. You can go collect your medal, you can go to the Herc hoist and get your fire jump picture and collect your medal, or you can start back where you were." And everybody was like, I'm just grabbing my beast medal. Awesome. And then they're like, Ultras, you have two options. You can either collect a beast medal or you can go back to where you were and finish out the race. And we all literally at the same time, you just hear a F that. And like people start walking. You're like, oh no, but you still have 5 minutes before we're letting you back out. We were already 32 miles in and they were going to
Yeah.
just give us a beast medal. It's like, so we got back out on course. There were no volunteers on course at this point. So,
Hmm.
like, people were skipping the sandbag. There's a picture of that was actually in the highlights where I'm carrying my sandbag and there's a guy behind me in a red headband not carrying a sandbag and I'm like in a lot of pain. And he's first in front of me and I end up passing him and I say, "Hey, red headband, where's your sandbag?" He said, "There's a sign that says if you can't do the obstacle, then you don't need to." And I said, "You're in a competitive wave.
Yeah.
You said you were going to do all of the obstacles. If you can't complete the sandbag carry, don't sign up competitive." He's like, "I'm not competitive. I'm in age group." I'm like, "Nope, that's
That's competitive.
competitive." So then I put the sandbag down, go to the spear throw. One, the fact that burpees are back on spear throw is BS because there's nobody policing them. There wasn't anybody on the first loop. There definitely wasn't anybody on the second loop. But people literally just threw their spear and kept going. Like nobody was doing their burpees. I did mine. Another woman did hers. And everybody else just kept walking past. And then we finished out. I got onto the A frame. The A frame was so incredibly loose. I'm climbing up and my foot slides off of the A-frame and then the other foot slides straight down and I end up catching myself with my arms at the top of the A-frame. There's a guy in a Tough Mudder shirt tightening things and I look at him, I said, "This is extremely dangerous." And he just stops tightening it and leaves it like super loose. So I get off that. I go, I do the bucket, I finish out whatever else, jump over the fire and collect my buckle. And then I immediately collapsed the second I crossed the finish line. Somebody was there and they're like, "How do you feel?" I'm like, "I'm in pain." They're like, "That's good though." I'm like, "No, I sprained my ankle at mile 2." They're like, "That's not good." I said, "No,
No.
no, it's not." Um, like I get earn your buckle, go finish your race. But Spartan, if you're not gonna have volunteers back out on course when you send racers, you should not have them do the obstacles.
No.
We can cover the mileage, that's fine. But like it's dangerous to have obstacles without volunteers.
No.
And it was
So,
multiple obstacles.
yeah, because when I did the North Carolina Ultra last year, we had the same thing where we had lightning, and they luckily they never pulled any of us off the course because they never got that close, but it got close enough that they closed the obstacles.
Right.
So they just basically said, they had the volunteers just standing at the obstacles going, just go on. Just skip the obstacles.
At least they
So
told them for you.
yeah. Yeah. So they're just like, just keep going, skip the obstacles. And it was, but I had that thought in my brain, like you were just having, it's like, I think we're at mile 26 or 27. And
Hmm.
I'm looking at my buddy who was hurt and he'd done something to his hip. And I was staying with him and I'm like, come on, we need to go because I know the way Spartan thinks. If we get pulled from this ultra because of lightning, we're done. That's it. We
Yeah.
don't get a buckle. Our day's over. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I've known it to happen at Spartan. Unless you finish pretty much there, you're done.
Yeah.
To get the buckle, you have to do the mileage and you have to do it. So we got to go because if they pull this for lightning, we're not getting it.
Right. Like again, I have no problem going back and finishing it out. It's what I signed up for. It's
Mhm.
the safety of it all.
Yes.
But also, like, small peeve, if you're going to pause the race for lightning, pause the time, especially in something like an ultra where people are still racing.
Mhm.
Like, they could have easily said to us, like, okay, we're pulling you off right by where you're coming down for the dunk wall. Go around and step over the timing mat. And then when you step over that timing mat again, your time will restart. But like, there
Yeah.
are plenty of people in like age group that were still competing. And as soon as they sent them back out, it was just a free for all and like nothing was accurate. I know that I did that faster than 13 hours. Granted, not that much faster because like I did sprain my ankle,
Yeah.
but there was a difference in when I paused my watch because they said you're coming off course and then where I restarted it. There's a difference of like 10 minutes. So like that means something to me. I
Mhm.
didn't do that race in over 13 hours. According to Spartan, I did, but they made me stand around for 10 minutes. Um, so like just pause the time. It's not that hard.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things that, you could think too, like people who are racing like age group and competitive and everything like that. It's like, how do they know that it wasn't, there's a 6 minute difference and that 6 minutes is the 10 minutes that the person
Yeah,
was standing off to the side.
right, exactly. And like, the person who finished first was just up at the front of the tent when they said, okay, you guys can go back on course. Whereas the person who finished second probably got to the lodge faster, but because they ended up in the lodge versus in the tent, it took them longer to get back out on course.
Yeah.
Like stupid little things that like doesn't mean anything to maybe like Spartan or the average Joe open waiver, but there are still a lot of open waivers that look at that time and say,
Hmm.
how does my time compare? Whether
Yeah.
it's to other people that are in the same age bracket, same gender, or how does it compare to last year? And like, it means something.
Yeah. I mean, it's like me this morning. I mean, I was able to compare my time to last year because it was the same as last year. So I can say, okay, hey, I was 19 minutes faster. Where if, I got held up for 10 minutes,
Yeah,
that wouldn't really, be the same.
right, exactly.
Yeah. But you finish it. You gritted through it. You got it done.
I finished
And
it. I mean, I'm not necessarily proud of it. Do I recommend doing what I just did? No. Do not run 32 plus miles on a sprained ankle,
Yeah.
freshly sprained ankle. Do not do it. 0 out of 10. Don't recommend.
It's always so tough though, like when you're out there. Like if you'd done it like the day before or something like that, you could have been like, okay, I need to just not do this and try and defer it to another race or do another one. But when you're already out there, it's hard to be like, well, okay, I'm done. It's like, nope, I'm here. I'm just gonna keep going a little farther and a little
Well, there
farther.
were a few factors for it for me. One, I've been spraining my ankle since I was
Hmm.
13. I know my ankle. I also
Yeah.
specialize in injuries. I know
Hmm.
the differences in sensations. I was able to sit down, give myself some fracture tests, and say, okay, it's not broken. I know it's not broken. Is this
Yeah.
advised for me? No, but I also know that I can sprain my ankle and I can keep going because I've strengthened the ligaments, or sorry, the tendons, the muscles so much that like the ligaments are gone anyways. The muscles are holding my ankle together. They're going to keep me functioning. I knew if I took my socks or my shoes off, that ankle was just going to balloon. So I said, I can't change my socks and shoes. Keep my compression socks on as long as physically possible. I also knew I had tape in my bin and I could tape it up with a couple of different options if it came down to it. But again,
Yeah.
I have that knowledge. I know how to tape for specific things.
Hmm.
Um, I also know how to modify or how to not compensate my gait because of an ankle sprain. So I come in with a little bit of a different knowledge set where
Hmm.
I can consent to myself, like, this is okay for me. But I also said, I'm not going to run. I'm not going to push it. If I'm jogging and I start to have any confidence issues, go back to a walk. Take the ego out of it, let people pass me, um, focus on other things like my nutrition, like just getting all of the elevation gain, turn it into a training day.
Hmm.
But I also knew that I don't have that many races on my schedule right now. World's Toughest Mudder was always a question mark. And you know how I feel. It is way too early in the year.
Yes.
So when that happened, I said, well, I guess World's Toughest Mudder is out the door. I would love to go to World's Toughest Mudder. It is still too early in the year.
Yeah.
Um, Plus having it the week before the Spartan Ultra World Championships, also another big not okay. Um, so like I'm not thinking about either of those. I'm just thinking, okay, Jersey was a test for Killington. I know what I need to work on, focus on Killington. Take the time to let my ankle recover to get me to Killington. I could throw other things in here and there, but like nothing as big as hard of an effort. Just
Yeah.
focus everything onto Killington. So I knew get Jersey done, recover, recover, recover. Um, so yeah, still don't
That's
do what
awesome.
I did.
No, no, no. Yeah, and I mean that's kind of with me right now because I want to do because I didn't do the Ironman, so
Hmm.
I've chosen that I'm gonna do Waco instead, which is in October. So that gives me a little bit more time to train for it. Because I looking back now, like I said, it's almost in a sense helpful because I've been training for Ironman, but having that month where I had to be out of town for work and everything else, I think kind of messed me up a little bit. Um, Giving me that little bit extra time waiting to October gives me a little more time to train for it. So I can train, be ready for Waco, do the Waco Ironman, and then I think next year I want to go for and get my full Ironman under my belt and get one done. So I think I'm gonna do California in October of next year.
Awesome. That's a great goal.
So that gives me a year and a half to train for a full. And I think for me the biggest one I need to work on is if I can keep that 16 to 17 mile pace or better for 56 miles. So I
Hmm.
can do it for 12, but can I keep that pace for 56? And that's what I'm gonna have to work on is make sure I can get that endurance on the bike up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Good
It's just
goals.
knowing what you need. So, and like I said, I think I'm gonna do a couple smaller, sprint triathlons. I might do an Olympic distance before the Ironman just to test my endurance and my swimming and everything. So,
Okay, awesome.
but yeah, got to get ready for it. Get
Yeah,
going.
definitely.
It'll be good. But yeah, I think I'll do California in 2026. So, which should be a good one.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So, what else have you been up to?
Surviving.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Life is heavy right now.
Yeah,
And like not being able to run is miserable.
yeah.
Um, so I'm trying to stay positive, ease back into running as much as I can, spend as much time with Midnight as I can, but like her not being able to go running with me is putting her back in menace mode. So like cleaning the apartment this morning and I hear her chomping on something hard. And it's like the apartment is getting clean, but she's still finding random things that, and she's getting like more and more creative to
Hmm.
find things to destroy.
They do
Um,
that. Yeah,
yeah. So I really want to focus on building her, like training her and doing some fun things with her. I have an idea. I have a really great business idea that I've been putting some thought into, and I'm not gonna release it to the public just yet because I think it's such a great idea that like
don't want anyone
nobody
to
better
steal it.
steal it. So I'm doing a lot of work towards that while also trying to do a lot of work on USA OCR stuff. But like
Hmm.
the world of obstacle course racing is still on fire, and like there's only so much work you can do while also knowing that like all of your efforts could be blown up in 2 seconds because something completely out of your control happens.
Yeah, yeah. That's very true. Because I mean, the big problem we run into right now, and we've talked about this before, is there's not as many of the small companies anymore.
Yeah,
Where we had that huge influx of smaller companies before COVID, and then COVID. I mean, I think they were already on the decline, and then COVID kind of,
yeah,
was the killing blow on a lot of those. So we lost a lot of the smaller brands. You know.
right. Well, also, the whole sports world of obstacle course racing is just on fire. We don't know who the main overseer is. Like, there's talk of like pentathlon now trying to take the sport over and take it away from World Obstacle. And I don't know. I'm losing my mind with all of it.
Wow.
So, like, I don't know how any of that plays a factor into it. And like, pentathlon here in the US is like impossible to get a hold of, or we're not communicating, or I don't know. It's not my thing that I'm working on. But it's like if I'm trying to do like sanctioning for or like officiating under like world obstacle standards, but it's now pentathlon that's going to be overseeing it. It's like I don't know what I'm doing. And like
Yeah.
it's not my fault that nobody's communicating.
No, no. And that's frustrating when you're trying to get something done and you're not getting the communication that you need, and but later someone's going to ask you, why isn't this done? Well, because
Right. Well,
mm,
one of the other big things, I mean, I've talked about it. I'm working on officiating. You've helped
mhm,
me out.
mhm,
I'm trying to get this done here in the US. We have to send people to obstacle course racing world championships as technical officials, but like nobody in the US is operating under the rules that would qualify them as a technical official to help at the world level. And like we try to get Spartan involved, but like Spartan's like, nope, we can't. And then people are like, oh, well, can I just get my experience at Spartan because that's the only race that I have access to? And no, you can't because they won't play nice and they won't change to rules that would be easy for them to change to help accommodate. But
Yeah.
instead, they want to go and give you burpees at a spear throw and then not have anybody watch it and be totally okay with people cheating or not put volunteers on course when they send competitive racers back out after a lightning delay. And like, I'm losing my mind with it all.
I can imagine. I mean that's been, but I mean it's kind of been the MO with Spartan to begin with. The Spartan, and it all comes down from Joe is pretty much they do it their way, and it's like, yeah, but your way isn't helping the sport as a whole.
Like, um, Jersey was my first race for Spartan in almost 2 years, like a year and a half. I technically ran the Barry Super last year, but like I did it with a group. I didn't do it competitively. It was just kind of a fun run.
Yeah.
Um, so like I'm not counting it. But so Jersey was my first experience back in a little bit. And like obviously the spear throw burpees things I don't agree with. But then like thinking about it, Jersey used to be one of the hardest courses. And I don't want people coming at me like, oh my gosh, it was so hard this year. You should have done the trifecta weekend, or you should have
Yeah.
done this or this. You should have gone faster. You should have woulda, shoulda, coulda, whatever. But like, I walked Jersey with a sprained ankle, the ultra, in 13 hours. That shouldn't have been a possibility. Like, they put the obstacles so far apart. There was essentially like a giant gap in the middle of the race where it was just a trail race. There were no obstacles intermixed with the trail running. And then they just put everything right at the end.
Mhm.
And it's like, had they spaced out the obstacles more, they would have made the race harder. Or like, they did have a traditional Z wall, so I'm not gonna harp them on this whole flat traverse wall thing that they're now doing. But like, it is obvious that they are pulling back on their difficulty or they're washing it down. I don't know. Just they are not building up their brand like they used to. And
Yeah.
then seeing them say like, no, we're not gonna change the rules to meet world obstacle standards, or they're gonna take away volunteer credits. I I volunteered at the SGX coaching zone on Sunday. We had like four coaches that volunteered there. And I had reached out initially and said, I am a level 2 world obstacle technical official. I want to help officiate for the super. How do I go about doing that? There's no place on the volunteer sign up to say officiate. And they email back, oh, just sign up for the time that you want. I'm like, no, I want to officiate. I don't want to be a volunteer. I want to officiate. Like, very specifically, put me at an obstacle where I can be responsible for watching people do the obstacle and call them out to do the penalty loop or whatever else.
Mhm.
They didn't have that option. The person who was running their customer service response team did not give me that option. So I was like, okay, I'll volunteer at the coaching zone. Luke's running the trifecta weekend. I'm going to be there anyways. They only had one spear throw, one wall. There was no rope climb. There was no bucket or atlas ball. There was no coaching to be done, particularly by four coaches in one zone.
That doesn't seem right.
No, not at all. People would come up, where can I practice the rope climb? Oh, well, it normally would be here, but there isn't anything.
Yeah.
They're pulling away
Hmm.
different staples from their festival area or from their race course. Um,
They've been getting less and less. And I mean, the thing is too, is like this year, everyone's like, oh, they came up with these new obstacles. I'm like, those aren't new obstacles. Those are obstacles that they had 10 years ago
yeah,
that they phased out
which
because
I
they
haven't
made
seen
better
those
ones.
either.
Well, that was like the different Z wall, the flat wall. That's
Yeah.
what the Z wall was originally. So they just brought back the old version that wasn't as difficult.
And like, okay, if they are gonna not make it a Z wall because of time and cost and whatever else, that's fine. So be it. But
Mhm.
like they can be doing other things to improve their brand while trying to cut production costs.
Yeah.
But like not having a rope climb in the SGX zone, that's easy. Like put that back in there. That's going to help with your racer retention. Like I've told them this numerous times before, show people how to do the obstacles. If you get people ringing bells, they're going to want to come back and ring the bell more. They're going to bring their friends there so then their friends can experience the joy on the race course and get them ringing
Mhm.
bells.
Yeah.
But
Well,
like,
the other big problem we ran into is volunteers. They've made it such a pain to be a volunteer that nobody wants to do it.
yeah.
I mean, it used to be, 4 hours, what was it, 4 to 6 hours or something? You got a free race. And if you did 8 or more, you got like a hoodie. And now you have to do like 10 hours
Mm-hmm.
to get a free race. And then most of the time, they treat them horribly.
I
That's
didn't
why
get
my
any
wife quit doing
food.
it. Yeah.
I was
Right.
there all day. I showed up at 9, was there until 3. Um, they didn't even offer me a t-shirt.
Yeah.
There was nothing. I went into the um now it's not Spartan Plus, but whatever they had called Spartan Plus now. I went into their tent and I got a chair so I could sit down because I had a sprained ankle.
Mhm.
But it's like you don't even have anything in here for me to coach.
Right.
Oh, you want me to help people jump over this wall? Somebody
Yeah.
else is already teaching them how to throw a spear. So I don't know what else you want me to do.
Yeah. No, there's so many things. 'Cause that was like when I first started racing, that's how I would race because it was so expensive. While I was racing, my wife was always with me. So she would volunteer, get free
Yeah.
races, and then give me the codes.
I've been saying for years that that's probably one of the best ways for spectators to actually show support. Plus, you're going
Mm.
to see your racer out on
Yeah.
course.
But like I said, then they made it such a pain. She had 2 or 3 times where they like left her out at an obstacle and just left her there with no food, no recovery, no water, no nothing. And she's like, I ain't doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Screw them. And I've heard that from more than one person. And it's
Hmm.
surprising just, I mean, and you see with other race brands too. Like it was the race that I just did this morning. They were talking about how they had problems giving volunteers. I'm like, well, what do you give the volunteers? They're like, we got them Chick-fil-A. Like that's, I mean, not to sound bad, but I don't know if that's enough to give your
No.
volunteers. And I told them, I said, I've done races before. A lot of races I did, they would give you a free race code. That's how I did most of my triathlons, everything in Seattle. See, for a triathlon, almost every time I would be part of one of the packet pickups the week before. I'd go and volunteer for 5 or 6 hours for packet pickup, help everyone packet pickup, and they'd give me the free race.
Right.
But if I was just going to show up so they give me Chick-fil-A, I'm not really a big fan of Chick-fil-A, so I'm out.
I just, I don't get it at all. Like, it really seems like they are deliberately trying to kill their brand.
Sometimes. Or I mean, it's ego. They think they're
Yeah.
so big that, they can do whatever they want. People are still going to show up.
But
Yeah.
like, so for USA OCR, we have athletes that are going to go and compete on the world level. They're going to Sweden this year. I had an athlete message me yesterday and say, "Hey, I'm getting ready for Sweden. Where can I go practice obstacles in Boston to be ready for what I'm going to see in Sweden?" I said, "Honestly, we don't have obstacles in the US like they do in Europe."
Yeah.
Said, if you're looking to get the best practice before you go to Europe, stop racing Spartan.
Mhm.
Go out to where race ready obstacles are building. They're going to have the best obstacles for you to practice on before you go to Sweden. Don't race Spartan. They're not doing you any favors in giving you better rigs and better obstacle practice. You
Hmm.
can go to a ninja gym to get some obstacle practice, but they're going to have more like lashaying type of stuff. If you're looking to race Sweden, you have to get better with your hanging grip strength. And you're not going to see it on much here in the US. You have to get really creative.
No, because I'll be honest, and I know some people get mad at me for saying this. They've made it too easy for everybody. They're like, we want to include everyone, so we had to make it easier to the
Yeah.
point where it's just like, but then all of a sudden, all of our, our athletes are going up to Europe and getting their asses whooped because it's like, oh wow, this is a lot harder than we did in America. Yeah, because they made it too easy here. Because
Right.
that way, everybody.
And Savage was great. They were making everything more and more challenging,
Mhm.
innovative. And then people started complaining, oh, I can't lachey. Oh, I can't do this. I'm going to stop racing Savage because they're just making it way too hard. No, improve your training.
Yeah, get
It's
better.
not Savage's fault that you haven't been able to master your hanging skills.
Yeah,
Improve your core stability, improve your shoulder stability. Stop going to just a basic CrossFit class or a F45 class. Learn how to hold your own body weight, swing, move.
yeah,
But then again, it's also like Savage doesn't really have training. But something like Spartan, they could be teaching people how to do these obstacles. I've taught their obstacle specialist course. Their basic obstacle specialist course doesn't really teach you that much unless you have a great instructor.
yeah,
I every obstacle specialist course I teach, and maybe this is why I'm not really teaching much this year, it's because I take the book and I say, they have this manual. Yeah, we tried to revise it a few years ago. They never even brought the revisions out. This manual says nothing. I'm going to teach you how to actually obstacle and how you can incorporate training into your day to day to get you to beat these obstacles because dead hanging is not doing it.
mm. No, dead hanging. I mean, dead hanging is good for maybe grip, but at the same time, I
Mm,
mean, not for grip while you're moving. And most of the obstacles that you're gonna do, like even monkey bars, something as simple as monkey bars, you're swinging, you're not
yeah,
hanging.
exactly. The only time you will ever grip and hang is on the rope.
Yeah,
You
and
don't
even
need your arms for the rope climb. You just need to be able to tuck your knees and hook your feet.
yeah, and I mean that's it. I was gonna say you technically all your arms are is to keep you from falling off the rope.
Yeah,
Your legs and the J hook or S hook, whichever one you use, that's what gets you up the rope. And I learned that was the biggest thing for years took me to learn because I'm like I just don't have the arm strength for it. One of my buddies like you don't need the arm strength, you need the
right.
legs.
Right, exactly. So, like, when people come to me and they're like, I can't get across this obstacle, I say, okay, do you have some kettlebells? If the answer is no, I say, go get yourself some kettlebells. If the answer is yes, I say, start incorporating bottoms up literally everything where you're gripping, but then you actually have to move your arm with it.
Hmm.
Learn how to stabilize that kettlebell while you're gripping and moving because you have to grip and move and stabilize while you're swinging and hanging and whatever else.
Yeah,
If you just expect to hang on, you're not going to go anywhere.
no. And I think that's the problem is you get a lot of people like they try and hang on. Even when I was bigger, I could still do the monkey bars because I knew how to swing.
Yeah.
And that's what it came down to. Could I lâché? Not when I was bigger, mainly because my shoulders couldn't handle the trying to catch my fat butt. But, um, it's it's something you learn, and that's the thing is I think too many people get focused on just the grip strength. Like for me, I'll be honest, when I get bored, I have to work on my grip strength right here in my hand all the time. Like when I'm working, when everything else. But that's not going to help me lâché. It's not
No.
going to help me swing. Is it going to help with my grip and be able to hold things better? Sure. But at the same time, if you grip too hard when you're swinging, that's how you get blisters.
Well, you should have blisters already, but if you grip too
Yeah.
hard, you're going to lose your blisters.
Yes.
But also, a lot of people focus so much on grip strength that they end up with such a tight quote unquote grip that they don't have the mobility in their wrists. So they start in an overgrip and just continue to overgrip. You need to open up your wrist. You need
Hmm.
to do more crawling motions, more full flexion motions. Well, technically that's extension, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, you have to not just strengthen your grip, you have to strengthen the backs of your wrists and forearms too, because that is where your swinging is coming from. First and foremost, your first motion, you overgrip like a false grip, and then your wrists swing, and then you continue on through your shoulders and up through your hips.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's not a dead hang swing. You're not going to get those muscles working on a dead hang.
Right. Most people don't even squeeze their glutes or know how to hold their body weight in a dead hang.
No.
If you're not contracting something in a dead hang, you're not doing much work aside from distraction in your shoulders.
Yeah. Which does feel good sometimes though, but
It does. But like you can turn your dead hang into something a little bit more productive.
hmm.
And I will say that all day, every day, and I don't care who wants to come and refute me. Show me an obstacle where you're dead hanging and you don't have to move at all.
Hmm.
As soon as we get that obstacle, I'll say, yep, you're right. But even when we had the obstacles that were like a zip line or holding onto something and it slides down, you're still having to contract
Hmm.
everything to stop your body from falling off. So you're
Yeah.
still not
And
dead hanging.
most time you had to hold your feet up, you did something, so
Yeah.
you're contracting
Yeah,
your
you're
core.
condensing your center of gravity
Hmm.
in so you go faster.
Yeah. So even then, it's not a real dead hang. I mean, I don't think I've ever done any obstacle where my arms have just been straight up.
Right.
They're always at an L, whatever, trying to, move my body because I mean, yeah, it just, I don't know. Like you said, there's very few obstacles that a dead hang is actually going to
Yeah.
work.
Yes, we can incorporate dead hangs in various capacities, but like if you're not moving your hands, if you're not learning how to contract and relax in it, it's not going to do much good for you.
No, no, no. But you get these people that think that, and that's one of the reasons why I always love talking to you because there's certain things, because you hear people all the time, oh, dead hangs, that's what you need to work on.
Yeah,
And I see it so many times in like, Facebook posts and everything else and people are like, what do I need to work on to do better on the obstacles? Everyone's like, dead hangs. And I'm like, no,
no,
no. But then the second you say that, you get so many people screaming, oh, no, dead hangs are it. And I'm a trainer. And I'm like, glad you're not my trainer.
right?
I mean,
I gave a client yesterday, he comes in. He started training with me. He does a very specific type of yoga where it's like an hour and a half of yoga every day, and he's not supposed to deviate from the exact same sequence, but he found himself constantly getting injured. So we started with some like animal flow, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Megan, all my injuries are already gone." He's like, "I love everything about this." So I started giving him pull-ups and different body weight and like
hmm.
very easy like functional movements that will help strengthen his yoga practice without sending him too far off in different directions. I had him on the pull-up bar, and we have blaze pods at the studio. So they're the light up pods that they like
Hmm.
you can set it to like random and you have to hit it and it turns off and whatever else. So
Yeah.
I
So you did a video of you doing that.
yes.
Pretty cool. It
So
was
I
awesome.
had him doing that, and he tried it the first time and he was just dead hanging and trying to lift his arm. And he's like, oh, I can't hold on. I can't hold on. And I'm like, well, just try it again. And like, I want people to learn how to do things for themselves before I
Hmm.
cue them. Like, I want to see where your body goes to naturally first. And then I'm like, okay, well, right now you're gripping strictly in like your fingers. So, like here, like go into it with a false grip. So, get over the bar and then pull it down and it locks in place a little bit more. So, whenever you grip, come over the top and then pull down, over the top, pull down. And that's going to help save your quote unquote finger grip a little bit more. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's great." And then he's like, "I'm finding that if I like lift my knees when I do it, I can like it takes less time to like actually hit the button and like I feel more comfortable and I'm not falling off." I'm like, "Exactly. You're swinging from your hips and stabilizing your core more
Hmm.
to be able to lift your hand off." And he's like, "Oh, oh yeah, no, this feels so natural and easy." I'm like, "Yes. All you're doing is stabilizing your core and swinging from your hips."
Yeah, it's amazing once you get it and figure it out. And I mean, it's one of those things. Because for like me doing that, like I said, even when I was big, I could do monkey bars. I could do something because I've always
Hmm.
been a climber, and
Yeah,
I've always been that. And I've had so many times people are like, "Well, can you dead hang?" And I'm like, "Not very well." And I don't know why. I'm horrible at dead hanging. If I just hang there, I'll drop.
right.
But if I'm moving, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I can do, monkey bars, no problem. I can do all of that, but just hanging, no, can't do it.
right. I get bored.
Yeah. I
I
think
don't
that's
want
part
to
of it
do
too.
it. I would much rather sit in, a bicep hold, L hang, give me pull-ups, give me switch grips, something. Keep my
Yeah.
brain fresh and occupied. Don't make me just sit there and hang.
No,
It's not
that's
doing
part of it for
me
me.
any benefits.
Yeah. That's kind of like, and it sounds bad doing planks.
Yeah, no,
If
I
I have to do
don't
a plank
have
for any
my
more than 30 seconds, I'm like, this is stupid.
no, my clients don't do any planks. We do not do planks.
But if you have me doing a plank, but then I'm having to do something like, back and
Yeah.
forth from shoulder to shoulder, go back and, one hand and just swap hands, touch something like you were saying, the little, whatever
Yeah.
the pods. I mean, something like that. Now that's going to be, there was some I saw once. There's like a video game thing you can get where you sit there and it's like a
Yep.
plank, but you try and I'm like, now that I'd probably sit there for
But it's
hours until
still a
my
moving
stomach hurts.
plank.
Yeah. But
You
you're
don't
moving and
have
that's
to
it. And you're doing something.
ever hold a plank for any reason in any capacity in life.
No, you got to
Move
move.
with it.
And that's what I
You're
like, the balance. Because with the balance, you're balancing and moving. And yeah,
That's what I tell my clients when they say they want single leg balance work. They're like, "Well, I just need to be able to stand on one foot before I do anything else." I said, "No, when are you ever just standing on one foot?" Said,
yeah,
"You're walking one foot in front of the next. So, like, I'm gonna have you balancing in a way that is going to strengthen your ability to walk." So, like, if we're standing on one foot, I'm having that other foot move in different directions, or your arms moving in different directions, because you need all different kinds of stimuli. Because we're walking down the street of the South End in Boston where there are cobblestone and brick just sitting randomly out of place, and everybody's going to trip, everybody's going to fall. You standing on one foot is not going to stop you from falling.
no. And that's the one thing that's been for me for a long time. Because I can remember like growing up doing these workouts, and then it's like now I'm looking back going, how do any of those help me in movement? And
Yeah.
that's like one of my buddies was talking about working out. Oh, if you do this, that, and I'm like, I want functional. I want something. I want to do workouts that this is going to parlay into my life, into my bike riding, into my running, into my swimming, into my obstacle course racing. If it's not going to parlay into that, why am I doing it?
Right.
Because I don't care about having big muscles and everything else like that. Because whatever. I mean, I want to be able to function.
Yeah. And that is quite literally how all training should be. We
Hmm.
are just trying to improve our longevity, our actual function in life. I treat all of my athletes or all of my clients as athletes, regardless of what they are going to be doing. My client who is in her late 70s with MS, she still has to walk down the street. She still has to walk up and down the stairs when she has it. She still has to walk her dog. So I'm going to train her to be able to sit down, stand up, walk one foot in front of the next, and stabilize her body in true capacities and not just, "Oh, can you stand on one foot? Can you hold a plank?" No, I'm going to teach you how to hip hinge because you still have to bend over to tie your shoes.
Hmm. And I think part of it for me is, I mean, me and, a friend got to talk about this the other day, why I try working out, why I do all this stuff. And I'm like, honestly, it sounds bad to say this. I don't want to be my parents.
Yeah.
My parents haven't been able to do anything pretty much besides sit and watch TV and maybe walk to the car in like 20 years. And for me, if I get to that point, just end it for me because
Right.
that's not what I want. I want to be able to live my life. I had my dad the other day when we were talking about it. He's like, your knees aren't going to be able to do all this forever. And I'm like, that's fine. When they decide that my knees aren't going to work anymore, I'll replace them and do it again until those ones break because I want to keep going. I'm like, there's a 92-year-old that I've met on Spartan races repeatedly named Monty who's still out there doing them. That's who I
It's
want. That's who I want to be.
so my dad, he broke his wrist when he was in middle school. And at the time, like they splinted him, surgery. He can't twist his wrist.
Hmm.
Then he had an elbow replacement on the other side when shortly before he moved to Massachusetts. So his hands, his elbows, they're all messed up. I put a mace in his hand a year ago and I had him do just like basic switches, basic like pendulums. And he looked at me and he's like, I'm working muscles that I thought were dead. I have not felt these muscles activate in almost my entire life. I said, okay, well, one, they're not dead. So this is functional movement. You should be doing this stuff. I said, you like to do woodwork. You're constantly swinging a hammer, doing all this stuff. How do you think you can do that safely if these muscles don't work? You can be using that hammer to strengthen these muscles so then you can do these safer.
Hmm.
But he won't do
And
it.
that's what a lot of people, when you work the muscles and you make them better, I mean, it makes it so you can do more.
Yeah.
And it's so many people like, oh, you're gonna hurt this, you're gonna. Then I heard it, and I work on it. I mean, they told me I was supposed to have knee surgery 20 years ago, and I still haven't done it. And I'm
So,
out doing what I did this morning.
so I have a client that just started working with me like 3 weeks ago. She is the realtor and friend of two of my other clients. And she came in and said, I'm having a knee replacement in August. I am a, f- I've been an athlete my entire life. I'm now living with chronic pain in my knee. I have chronic pain in my shoulders. I just want to make sure that I'm doing something so when I go into my knee replacement, I can come back stronger and I'm like ready for the knee replacement. I said, okay. So I started training her and she came in on a Monday for her first real session. And we had booked for like a Monday and Friday. And on Wednesday, she texted me and said, do you have any time today? Can I come in today? So I'm like, yeah, of course, come on in. She walked in and she said, Megan, my shoulder pain is gone. My knees feel great. My feet are working. They actually aren't miserable for the first time ever. She's like, I don't think this is how quickly exercise is supposed to work, but like my body feels great. And, I'm not going to question it. I said, I feel great. I'm not in pain right now. So I need to go back and do more things because I don't want that pain coming back. So
Yeah.
now she's trained with me for 3 weeks. Every day she's coming in saying how she feels better and better. Her knee pain for the knee that is, um, she's going to be getting replaced virtually gone, and it's all because we're strengthening her hips. I mean, I'm not going to be like, you don't need a knee replacement. That's for her doctors. But like, I'm going to still do the same stuff so she can continue to strengthen her hips to take the pressure off the knee. And like, her shoulder pain has completely been alleviated. And now she said, I feel so great. I'm going to start coming in 3 times a week because I feel like a totally new person now.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, before I started running and doing everything again, like I said, I was supposed to have both knees done
Yeah.
and have surgery, not replaced, but at least have surgery on them. And once I started running, everyone's like, "Oh, that's gonna be hard on your knees." And when I first started, I wore, braces, did all that stuff to protect my knees. I couldn't even tell you where my knee braces are right now. Because why? Because the one thing I found too, the more I wore the knee braces, the more they hurt.
Yeah.
Once I started taking those off and actually working my legs without them, that's when all of a sudden it all started feeling better. Do I have knee pain occasionally? Yeah. Sometimes I'll push a little too hard and do whatever, my knee will hurt. I'll ice it, take a break for a little bit, and then it's fine.
Unless you've had a traumatic injury to your knee. Knee pain is the result of dysfunction in your hips and or your ankles. So if you have knee pain, stretch your hips, stretch your ankles, strengthen your hips, strengthen your ankles.
Mm. Yeah.
It's honestly that simple. I mean, yeah, like there's a lot more that goes into it, but
Oh yeah.
like stretch your ankles, stretch your hips, keep them functional, keep them happy, and
Mhm.
your knees are going to be relatively happy. Like I said, when I sprained my ankle at Jersey, I I said I could tape my ankle, but if I tape my ankle, it's going to decrease my mobility in my ankle, and then I'm going to start getting cramping and aches and pains elsewhere because cutting off that mobility is then going to cut off the mobility up the kinetic chain. And I
Mhm.
didn't want to deal with it. I know my ankle can function without the ligaments. My muscles are
Gonna-
still great. I know how to not compensate, so I can do this safely.
Yeah. It's like you just had to compensate the word. Once you start compensating, now all of a sudden
Yeah.
your gait changes, your step changes. Now you're using muscles you normally don't use, and that's when you start getting cramps and
Yeah.
getting other issues. Yeah. For me, I have had both of my knees. I've had traumatic injuries to them, but it was in my 20s, and I didn't feel like because I saw what happened after my dad had surgery. My dad had
Right.
surgery, and then everything went to crap afterwards. But I mean, that was in the early 90s that he had surgery and
Right.
had a full orthoscopic on his knee, and like pretty much has never been able to do anything athletic since. And I'm like, that ain't happening to me.
Right.
But but I
But
mean, like I
also,
said,
like surgery and injury technology has come a long way
it
since
has.
then.
It has. And actually, I've talked to doctors since then, and all the doctors have pretty much said that I made the right choice. That by doing the physical, I've made my knees stronger. They're fine. The damage that I had, it was technically traumatic at the time, but not like I tore my ACL on one knee, my MCL on the other.
Okay.
But I didn't, it wasn't, neither one of them was a full tear. It was just partials, but it was still enough that they wanted to repair them. And I'm like, no, thanks. I'll just rehab them. But
Right.
no, it happens. Sports. One was baseball. The other was work.
Yep.
Yeah. Baseball put my
Okay.
foot in a hole. And work, they dropped a pallet on my leg. So
Oh, yikes.
yeah.
Okay. I feel like I have been on a soapbox this entire
No, but this is why we
hour.
do this, because we could talk
I
about
know.
this. It,
I know. I could talk about this all day, and it just, there are times where I get really frustrated with people's ignorance
Mhm.
and like thinking they know everything or like because they heard something from like their old coaches or their parents. Like I sprained my ankle and my dad for the next week every time I talk to him. Well, what did the doctor say? What did the doctor say? I'm like, I don't need a doctor, Dad. Said all of my fracture tests were negative. We have specific rules in
Yeah.
athletic training that says if this is present, go to the doctor. But so many people go in for ankle sprains just for an ankle sprain to find out there's nothing actually wrong other than an ankle sprain that they've said, here are specific rules. Do not refer people to a doctor unless this is present. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to go to a doctor if I just sprain an ankle. But, you know, people have been, it's been ingrained in their head. Oh, something hurts, go to a doctor.
Right.
Oh, I I'm injured. I need to rest. That's my favorite. I need to just stop what I'm doing and not do anything until I'm pain free. No, you're going to live in pain if you stay completely at rest.
Yep.
You need to move in some capacity. And
Yes.
don't static stretch. Static stretching is gone and done.
Yeah.
Maybe after a
That's
workout.
the biggest one.
Maybe after a workout. But do not static stretch, especially on cold muscles.
Yeah.
Um, Fitness, as with everything else in life, fitness is constantly evolving and changing. And we have science that is
Hmm.
looking into all of this stuff. They didn't know this stuff before. We are figuring it out now. So remember, you don't know what you don't know. Trust the people who do know.
Yep. And that's it. I mean, I even had like, I've had family members and stuff see there and like, oh, do you stretch? And I'm like, not in the way you're thinking. Like I do not do, I'm not going to sit there and just try and do the splits and do all that stuff. Not, no, not before a run. Do I walk or run or do, lunge steps, stuff like that to get my muscles warmed up and moving? Yes. But I'm not doing kinetic stretching. No, it's not the right thing to do. Oh no, that's what a coach told me once. Yeah, 30 years ago.
Yeah. I went for a run with Luke a couple weeks ago. I mean, we were running like a lot, ramping up for Jersey. And as we're in it, we're talking. He's like, you know, I've noticed you don't stretch before you run. Why is that? Everybody always told me that I should stretch before I run. Said, no, you don't need to stretch before you run. Go warm up.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not jumping straight into sprints. I'm easing in, start with a light jog. If I need to do more athletic movements because I'm getting aches and pains and whatever else, then I will. But like, I'm going and running up a hill. That's warming up my body. I'm,
Mhm.
you know, focusing on different types of running movements that are going to warm up my calves, my shins. I'm, you know, doing arm things as I'm running. Like I'm getting warmth to my body and getting more range of motion through natural movements. Same with
Yeah,
my animal flow. That is like one of the best mobility workouts you can do. And it's all loaded progressive body weight stuff.
yeah. I saw your video on that. I felt like I would have fallen on my face like 4 times.
It's
Like,
so fun. And it's honestly, it's not that challenging. It's just all about retraining your mental processes.
yeah. And it's one of those things watching. It's one of those things that I've been very fascinated with. It's like, I mean, I've done yoga before and stuff like that. And I mean, even yoga isn't kinetic stretching. You're doing movements, you're doing stuff.
Yeah.
Um, which I've always loved yoga, but yeah, I just
Yeah.
never got back into it. But I mean, the animal, I am interested in that one. But
Yeah. I explain it to my clients as yoga for people who don't have the attention span for yoga. It's
yeah,
more fluid movement. It's a 360-degree practice instead of yoga and not to knock I'm not knocking yoga. I like yoga. I do yoga. But yoga is definitely a lot more like linear. You're going to be like either facing forward or facing to the side. You have to turn your foot this way, turn your body that way, where animal flow is literally just see how your body adapts to the
Mhm.
movements and like you'll find the right positions for you in time. It's more you just got to start doing it. And then as your body gets used to it, it can get into things a little bit better without forcing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something I definitely want to look into because yeah, that was one thing that was my biggest problem with yoga. Is I go to like yoga classes and about halfway through I'm like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't like to be touched, then it's like you might not get what you're supposed to get out of yoga.
Yeah.
So I'm somebody that doesn't like to be touched, if you haven't gathered that.
No. No, I get it. No, and yeah, I completely get it. I mean, the only time for me I like to be touched is, pretty much my wife and then if I go get a massage. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I should get massages. I don't.
I started again. Um, just my biggest thing is once I came here, it was tough. I finally found a good masseuse in Washington and then I moved here. And everyone I've come here, it was just like, and here's my biggest thing, and people can say whatever they want. I'm a runner. I do biking, I run, I do pretty much every exercise I do involves my glutes. So there's nothing sexual about this, but touch my butt. I need
Yes.
you to massage my glutes.
Yes.
And a lot of them, like there was a couple of like the chain ones are like, oh yeah, we're not supposed to touch from here to here. I'm like, that is the biggest muscle like that I'm using right
Yeah.
now. And if you're not going to touch it, then there's no problem in me being here. It's like, I
Release
don't,
my piriformis.
yes. It's like, there's nothing, I don't want anything, no happy, none of that stuff. I just want a real massage,
Yep.
just give me a massage, but I need that because I do run and that part is what's bothering me.
Right.
So, and that was the hard part. And I found a good place here, so I think I'm gonna start going monthly again to try and get because
Good.
my legs have been an issue. Plus, the other nice part of sitting here, I have the like what the air massage like things where you can wrap your legs and
Yep.
plug them in. I have those, so sometimes during work I'll put those on while I'm sitting at my desk, so I can get my
Perfect.
legs kind of trying to get going again.
Yep.
All right,
Awesome.
but we should probably we've definitely been going over the hour, but whatever.
Yeah. The rain is finally clearing up, so I guess I'm gonna go
You better go get
attempt
your
to run.
run in. It's like I got mine in this
Attempt.
morning, so I
Yes.
got mine in. I've been doing here Like I run through the new housing development that they haven't built houses in, but they put the roads in. So I'm like, there's
Oh,
no
okay.
traffic, there's nothing. So I can go run through and I figured out the perfect from my house, the exact loop I can do to do a 5K. So
Nice.
so I'll go do that twice
I
a week.
would I would lose my mind doing that, but I go and I run along the river here and I lose my mind there. So I just
Hmm.
don't like running roads, but that's me.
Well, and that's it. I wish I had trails around here that were better, but there just isn't close to the house. So but
Hmm.
that one's nice because there's nobody on them. They're just
Yeah.
empty roads that
Yeah.
just go. So yeah,
Yep.
right on.
Okay.
All right. Well, you take
Awesome.
care of yourself. We will talk again
Thank
soon.
you. Yes, definitely. Congratulations on
Thank
this
you.
morning.
And good job on the ultra. I know it wasn't exactly what you wanted, but you persevered and got through it.
Thank you.
So right on.
Okay.
All right. We will talk soon.
Yep.
All right.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.